With the dawn of the Switch 2 coming, the original Nintendo Switch is fast approaching its final years. And even though we have more games to look forward to like Rhythm Heaven Groove and Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, I still have to imagine most developers will be focused on Nintendo's newest console. In remembrance of our dear companion since 2017, I will follow everyone else's trend and list my top 15 games for Nintendo Switch. This was originally a top 10 list, and I needed more space for some games I really wanted to highlight. Even so, I still have some honorable mentions I feel are worth giving attention. The first of these games is Ring Fit Adventure. To call it a spiritual successor to Wii Fit would be a disservice, as its RPG elements and story mode make this so much more of a game rather than a tool. Next would be Splatoon 2 and 3. Both of these games are excellent, and their single-player content continues to deliver extremely creative levels and worlds. But for me specifically, I would stick around and play multiplayer for about 2 to 3 months before losing interest. So even though I see the value in these games, I don't think that they make my personal list. And finally are the trilogy of Mario RPGs that came out in recent years: Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and Mario & Luigi Brothership. It felt really strange to get these in such close proximity of each other, but honestly, I'm all for it. I'm very hopeful that each of these games performed well enough to signal to Nintendo that Mario RPGs are still a popular series, and seeing a sequel to games like SMRPG and TTYD would be a dream come true. Same with Mario & Luigi, although their game is a proper sequel. But with these out of the way, let's roll out the top 15 list.
Bye-bye!
This was the most difficult spot because it meant many other games were left behind, and even though I wanted to avoid including games that were re-released or ported to Switch, leaving off the best-selling game felt like a sin. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the Wii U title turned up to 11, and it reintroduces the fan-favorite battle mode in a much more meaningful way. This game lasted for so long that it even received a large-scale expansion with the Booster Course Pass. While I understand the look of these tracks is divisive, overall, having new tracks only adds to the game's replayability. There's honestly not much more I can say regarding its quality, because many people are already familiar enough with Mario Kart's hectic yet polished gameplay. And even after the release of Mario Kart World, I still expect several folks will stick around and grind out matches for this excellent upgrade to an already solid game.
Magnum Hollow.
Nintendo Switch had some of the best third-party support, especially when compared to its predecessors. And one of the series that already had a history with Nintendo consoles got a new limited-time exclusivity deal: Monster Hunter Rise. This entry in the series had a huge emphasis on mobility and triggering special attacks using the wire bug feature. And of course, as the game progressed, it got its inevitable DLC expansion in Sunbreak, which included even more monsters and abilities on top of what was already a solid foundation. While a lot of comparisons were made to the previous game, I still think Monster Hunter Rise is a splendid entry that delivered a near-flawless action game. Also, they gave us dogs.
Thank you!
Following the trend of timed exclusivity, Square Enix had their own game lined up, and it introduced the HD 2D style. That game was none other than Octopath Traveler. This was an ambitious RPG where you are given the choice of 8 characters to play as, and as you explore the world, you will recruit the other travelers as part of your party. And I am thoroughly impressed by each character's journey. Compared to other popular RPGs, some of the stories are rather tame, but I can say each of them had a satisfying resolution. And in classic Square Enix fashion, they have some means of connecting each of these stories, although I won't say any more to avoid specific spoilers. I unfortunately can't say much for the sequel as I have not played it, but the first game was excellent in its presentation, music, and gameplay. Even if you don't play Octopath Traveler on Switch, I can't recommend this game enough.
Can I go now?
From here on out, it'll be first-party Nintendo titles, and while this might be a huge blow to some, Fire Emblem Three Houses takes my number 12 spot. While most of the core Fire Emblem strategy and gameplay is here, the new spin on the formula involves becoming a teaching professor assigned to one of 3 groups: Golden Deer, Black Eagles, or Blue Lions. Choosing a path dedicates you to a single storyline, and as things progress, there is even a time skip where events change drastically depending on your decisions. It's one of the most replayable titles with all of this unique content split between routes, but I'll be honest and say I didn't stray beyond the Black Eagle story. I felt I had beaten the game and was done with it, even though future DLC would sweeten the pot of content. I acknowledge that this game could reasonably be higher, but even so, I think this is a well-deserved spot for one of the best titles in the series. Pikmin as a whole got a lot of love on Nintendo Switch, but the game most fans were eagerly anticipating was Pikmin 4, and it's fair to say that the game did not disappoint. The management and strategy in this series still finds ways to evolve, and to ease new players into this unpredictable world, Ochi acts like a Swiss Army knife that overcomes most obstacles. As someone who has been exposed to all of the other games, Pikmin 4 feels like a culmination of all of the best parts of the series, making it the most definitive experience whether you're a veteran or a newbie. This next game I couldn't reasonably leave out of the top 10 because it had such a profound impact. And while I think Animal Crossing New Horizons would have performed well without a worldwide pandemic, it's also safe to say this was the game that everyone was looking to escape to during uncertain times. And while the circumstances surrounding the game does some heavy lifting, I still think New Horizons is a great entry in the series. However, after spending prolonged time with the game, people found it difficult to come back to. It's a game that introduced new features and gave players freedom, while also feeling like it unnecessarily removed features that fans adored in New Leaf. All this to say that I think the game accomplishes everything it sets out to do, and the updates continue to add loads of items, events, and even a spin-off DLC for fans of Happy Home Designer. Overall, a deserving spot for such an important milestone for the series. Nintendo has its fair share of franchises that are well adored, but don't receive as many releases as fans would hope. But little did we know, a game originally rumored back in 2005 would find its way to Nintendo Switch in 2021, the long-awaited Metroid Dread. Samus has a new planet to explore and enemies to face, but the main threats are the Emmy robots that must be avoided at all costs. This fear-based gameplay is a theme that Yoshio Sakamoto wanted to encompass the game, and I feel like it was accomplished through the many intimidating beasts and plot twists. The gameplay is heavily polished too, thanks in part to the developers at Mercury Steam carrying over their experience with Metroid Samus Returns. Some people like the game so much that they rate it above Super Metroid, the universally agreed pinnacle of the series. Reviving a dormant franchise is no easy feat, and with the upcoming Metroid Prime 4, it seems the bounty hunter will be sticking around for a while. Hopefully indefinitely. Luigi's Mansion 3 is a game much like Pikmin 4, as it takes what works from the previous games and marries them in a way that elevates the franchise. As expected from this series, Luigi must combat ghosts with the trusty Poltergust and work with Professor Egad to thwart the plans of King Boo. The new element to shake up the formula is a clone called Guigi, which expands the scope for puzzles and combat. While the game is still linear, it drops the mission structure of the previous game and invests in more engaging story moments. This includes distinct theming for each floor of the hotel, as well as the unique character ghosts that inhabit them. Considering the competition ahead of it, I think Luigi's Mansion 3 is punching well above its weight class and still finishes in a strong 8th place for this list.
Hey!
The next game is another long-time Nintendo series that has seen a bunch of support on Switch, but it also took one of the largest leaps in going from 2D to 3D platforming. Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a marvel of a game, as it boasts excellent level design while also sporting a unique post-apocalyptic theming, something that is the antithesis to Kirby's cute design. Though grit and edginess are not the goal here, as it embraces the flavor of a Kirby game and has you explore a world in ruin. The main collectible of this game are the scattered Waddle Dees in need of rescuing, and they also act as your key to levels and unlockables. The number of copy abilities have been shaved to fit the 3D level design, but in exchange, the devs created a new upgrade system to power up your favorites. And if you were worried about a lack of content, after finishing the main story you still have a wealth of post-game features, like an extended campaign, rare collectibles, and secret bosses. There's not much more I can say to praise the game, only that the daunting gameplay transition ended up being a home run. Not even hitting the top 5, and I have the mission of explaining one of the most anticipated games of all time, the sequel to The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom is an incredibly ambitious game, as it leans even more into sandbox elements and also gives you 3 layers of world to explore. I don't think it's fair for me to generalize how large in scope this game is, you just have to play it for yourself to find out. The game also revives some classic Zelda tropes like dungeons and unique bosses, which were a wonderful inclusion. Out are the Sheikah Slate powers, and in come 4 new abilities that completely shift the way you explore and solve puzzles, the most frequently used being Ultra Hand and Fuse. Combine this with the massive variety of Zonai devices, and just about anything you imagine can come to life. It's a sequel that objectively surpasses its predecessor, and yet... I don't know if it's nostalgia or something else entirely, but I would still rank The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild higher on this list. It was a drastic change from what Zelda had been for over a decade and embraced an openness that had not been felt since the original NES classic. It also introduced so many new interesting characters and gave a lot of insight into the lives of Link, Zelda, and the champions. And even though this game is a nightmare for Zelda historians, I thought seeing the mini Zelda races interact and support one another really brought this world of Hyrule to life. As for content, you could play this game for years on end and still discover new places or interactions that ordinarily would be overlooked. This is excluding the DLC packs that add more missions for you to complete and rewards to aid in exploration. And I know that impact is a very subjective angle to discuss, but it did feel like all other open world games that came after looked to Breath of the Wild for inspiration, sometimes in the least subtle ways possible. Even though this game isn't at the top of my list, I understand that many people hold this game in such high regard and place it on a pedestal next to Ocarina of Time as best games of all time.
What flavor are you?
Do you want to know what my first Mario game was as a wee lad born back in 1999? It may come as a surprise, but it'd be the original Super Mario Bros. On NES. But my favorite when I was much younger was Super Mario Bros. 3. And the first new Mario game I would experience would be New Super Mario Bros. These three games would come to shape what my idea of 2D Mario was, and even though I would enjoy the sequels in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, 2, and U, it was very clear that the series was becoming homogenized. That's why when Super Mario Bros. Wonder was announced, I was immediately hooked by its revamped look and feel. The characters act like they were ripped from the key art of the NES and SNES titles, and the Wonder mechanic experiments with breaking the conventions of 2D Mario, resulting in many memorable moments. This was also the first time since New Super Mario Bros. That it felt like I was discovering secrets and being rewarded for straying off the beaten path. Other great features include the badge system, online multiplayer, and the variety of challenge stages. While there are some glaring issues with the game like scarce boss fights and little power-up variety, I can't find anything else to criticize. The gameplay, presentation, and music make this one of the most wonderful Mario games to date. Next is another great entry in Mario's long history of games, and one that took the world by storm on its launch, Super Mario Odyssey. To the excitement of many, Odyssey switched back to the sandbox-style exploration and was opened up even more due to the gargantuan number of moons that you can collect. Worlds will still have their general storylines to follow, but you can also just grab the moons scattered about and move along. The game is all about encouraging freedom, whether it be the aforementioned collectibles or the expanded movement. Cappy opens the game to extreme vertical and horizontal maneuvers and is the epitome of an easy skill that's hard to master. And captures are a captivating gimmick that made me eager to discover its next new innovation. The team handling this game made sure that fun comes first and executed their vision flawlessly, despite the fact that this expanded level of creativity could have easily backfired. The pantheon of 3D Mario games is full of bangers, and while this isn't the video to discuss comparisons, I firmly believe Super Mario Odyssey lands near the top. It's that remarkable of a game. The decision between number 1 and 2 spots was an agonizing struggle, as both games mean a lot to me in different ways. So a week from now you might hear me say differently, but my number 2 favorite Switch game is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Just to air out people's grievances up front, yes, the start of the game is slow and filled with tutorials, yes, the gacha mechanics cause an unnecessary grind, and yes, the anime presentation and humor is not going to appeal to everyone. But when I say this game has one of the most profound stories, with characters that have their own struggles and growth, and moments that brought me to tears, I can't ignore how much I love this game. The world is breathtaking and each area is distinct from one another, making it a joy to explore. And while Xenoblade has incredible music across the entire series, this game in particular had moments that brought out feelings and emotions that are fit for real-life events rather than a video game. But to speak on actual RPG elements of the game, it has very nuanced systems that emphasize party growth outside of leveling up, and a wide array of gear customization skills allow you to mold your preferred strategy. There are a ton of characters and side quests, amounting to hundreds of hours of content, and this is excluding the DLC offerings and Torna the Golden Country expansion. I understand that a lot of this sounds like hyperbole, but I genuinely think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 changed me as a person, and for that it deserves the utmost of my respect. This channel would not be here without this game series, and this specific title is the culmination of everything that came before it, resulting in a game that is nothing short of ultimate. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the most prized crossover in gaming history, and as the #1 best-selling fighting game, there is no doubting it as a renowned title. Masahiro Sakurai and the team at Bandai Namco delivered a game with so many characters, so much music, so much content that selling this game at $60 is a steal. It brings together the entire roster of the series and stretches to even further removed franchises like Fatal Fury, Persona, and Minecraft. And yet, this variety does not deter from the love, care, and attention that is afforded for every character's moveset, taunts, classic mode, accompanying stage, and more. There is no shortage of modes either that drastically changes the fight, allowing for some battles that can only be described as mayhem. Claiming this is a perfect game would be short-sighted, but many of the complaints people have are seen through a competitive lens, and when that lens is removed, there's little left to criticize. This game is what dreams are made of, and quite literally one of my wildest fantasies came true as the finale to this game's development. I strongly believe that a new Smash sequel is inevitable, but even several years later, I can see myself returning to this game to experience one of the greatest Switch games, heck, one of the best video games of all time. Hey guys, thanks so very much for watching. Just wanted to say this right at the very end of the video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a like and also consider subscribing if you'd like to see more Switch content, or in this case, Switch 2. I will be getting my console pretty early, and I will be trying to make as much content for it. Don't know if I'll be able to keep up with all of the hype, but I will try to my best, and I hope that if you do come across those videos, that you will enjoy them. But with all that out of the way, thank you guys so very much for watching. Hopefully you're having a fantastic night or day wherever you may be, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!